Muy buenos días a todos, bienvenidos. Buenos días, nos acomodamos para comenzar una gran jornada de este IAB Now en su edición 13ª, la edición número 13, una elección de hacerla hoy martes 13, una elección curiosa, pero una buena elección al fin. Va a ser una gran jornada, así que preparados para disfrutar, para escuchar, para intercambiar experiencias, opiniones, pareceres, para llevarse un montón de cosas como cada vez que se hace uno de estos IAB Now. Algunas recomendaciones. Hay diferentes acreditaciones. Esta es la sala Premium. Este comienzo se está viendo en streaming en todas las salas y lo mismo va a ocurrir con las palabras de Santiago Perincioli, el presidente del IAB. Después, cada sala va a tener sus propias actividades y luego en streaming vamos a volver a compartir todas las salas, la entrega de premios más digital que se hacen al final de la jornada. Después cada sala va a tener la programación que tienen en los programas y de acuerdo a la acreditación que tengan van a tener acceso a esas diferentes salas. Hay acreditación premium, están diferenciadas por color, ¿sí? Los que tengan acreditación premium son los que van a poder ver todas las charlas, accederán al almuerzo en el VIP y van a poder ver las charlas de la sala 3 y además van a poder estar en el VIP. Luego están las acreditaciones con credencial free para ver todas las charlas, pero sin acceso al VIP. Cuiden sus elementos de valor, esa es una gran recomendación. Bolsos, mochilas, computadoras, portátiles y demás. Cada uno se hace responsable de sus cosas, por favor. En las credenciales están identificadas las redes de Wi-Fi y las contraseñas a las que pueden acceder de acuerdo en qué sector y en qué sala estén. Y por último, el hashtag, se los recordamos, es IAB Now. Vamos a comenzar oficialmente esta edición número 13, la 13ª del IAB Now. Recibimos a Santiago Perincioli, presidente del IAB, con más de 16 años de trayectoria en la industria digital y de medios de comunicación. Actualmente es gerente comercial en Telefe, donde tiene a su cargo la comercialización publicitaria de todas las plataformas. Santiago también es miembro del board de RPA Media Place, representando a Telefe. Y anteriormente se desempeñó como subgerente de marketing y ventas digital en Clarín y managing director de Médula AD Network. El aplauso para recibir a Santiago. ¿Micrófono de mano o cisne? ¿Cisne? Perfecto.
Hola, hola. Gracias, Mariano. Bueno, buenos días a todos, a los presentes en esta sala, los que nos eligen en las demás salas y a todos aquellos. Me escucho con delay igual que el año pasado. ¿Me escuchan? Hola, hola. Ahí va. Les doy formalmente la bienvenida a nuestra edición número 13 de IAB Now 2016. Antes que nada, me gustaría agradecer a todos aquellos que forman parte de la Cámara y que hicieron posible este evento. A la comisión directiva, comisiones de trabajo y a todos nuestros socios por involucrarse en el día a día y que le pusieron a esta jornada trabajo, tiempo, dedicación y por sobre todas las cosas nutrieron de contenidos relevantes y atractivos a la grilla que vamos a disfrutar el día de hoy. A todo el staff del IAB, encabezado por Charla y yo, y la red de proveedores que trabajaron en la organización del evento. A todos los sponsors que nos apoyaron este año. Mancher, Saxis, adCuality, AGEA, La Nación, Infobae, Telefe, Facebook, TITS, PM LATAM, Headway Digital, Webar, Google, Tail Target y 100 Radios. Y también a Cine Hoyts y al DOT por recibirnos en su casa, lugar que nos permite desarrollar charlas simultáneas para que todos aquellos socios que tengan temas relevantes para abordar puedan tener su espacio en la grilla y a donde además nos sentimos realmente muy a gusto. A todos los keynote speakers que volaron hasta Buenos Aires para compartir sus conocimientos. Finalmente, a todos ustedes, los más de 2.700 inscriptos, récord absoluto que hicieron un espacio en sus agendas para debatir en conjunto y tratar de mejorar el estado del arte de nuestra industria. Muchas gracias a todos. Creo importante comenzar marcando algunos hitos que ocurrieron en la industria en este último año, asignaturas pendientes y desafíos que enfrentamos para adelante, primero como industria y luego como Cámara. La inversión digital en nuestro país durante el 2015 alcanzó una participación importante en la torta publicitaria total, con un 20,4% de share, que lo ubica ya como el segundo sistema con más share, solo por debajo de la TV abierta, y entre los líderes de Latinoamérica y como uno de los mercados con mayor crecimiento y maduración en la región. Y que aún tiene espacio para seguir creciendo en la misma dirección, teniendo en cuenta que Internet está definitivamente consolidado como medio publicitario, que el consumo de medios digitales aumenta en forma considerable y que la compra programática comienza a ser significativa. Espacio en donde, como presidente del IAB, celebro la construcción del primer consorcio en la región por parte de importantes players de la industria, que colaborará a que crezca de manera más rápida y más segura, por citar algunos motivos. Pero no todas son buenas noticias. No hemos podido instalar aún el verdadero valor de lo digital en términos de construcción de branding. Nadie discute lo digital como herramienta de performance, pero hay poco estudio metodológico de cómo pautar en lo digital influye en la construcción de equity marcario. La herramienta de medición más utilizada en la Argentina no contempla la cross-media. Las mediciones no están acompañando la velocidad con la cual los medios generadores de contenido y las audiencias están migrando. Tenemos que achicar esa brecha para valorizar las apuestas digitales de los anunciantes. Es injusto para el soporte digital medir las campañas solo con una planilla de Excel, porque por más que no se haga clic, un banner construye algo en la cabeza del usuario, aunque luego termine convirtiendo en una tienda física o cliqueando en un buscador. Está probado que una campaña con un componente digital tiene mayor recordación y que definitivamente genera construcción marcaria. Esto y poner en valor el contexto de calidad cuando los mensajes se muestran en sitios brand safe, creo, sin temor a equivocarme, son dos grandes asignaturas pendientes. ¿Qué hicimos desde IAB? Creamos nuevas comisiones, una de tecnología, liderada por Ezequiel, con un primer entregable a destacar, como lo es el manual de compra programática, y la de comunicación, para darle mayor visibilidad a cada una de nuestras iniciativas. Estuvimos presentes en Brand 100 para adelantar agenda, pero sobre todo para darle a conocer a los anunciantes el rol de nuestra Cámara, y que casos como el de Ezequiel Jones de Unilever en nuestra sede, Viviana Conte del COMAFI como presidenta de la Comisión de Comunicación, o Juan Pablo Broens de Carrefour, colaborando activamente en la ejecución de la Law Week, se multipliquen. Tenemos 12 anunciantes asociados, pero necesitamos que sean muchos más para poder encarar los desafíos en conjunto. Creamos la Law Week para apalancar el conocimiento de los consumidores de las propuestas que las marcas tenían planificadas para el Día de los Enamorados durante la semana previa. Y también en paralelo se eligieron y premiaron entre más de 1.400 propuestas las ideas más creativas sobre cómo festejar junto a su pareja esa fecha, que sirvieron como excusa para generar awareness a la primera edición. En abril anunciamos el lanzamiento en nuestro país de la certificación profesional Digital Media Sales Certification, con el objetivo de asegurar que los profesionales de la industria del marketing y la publicidad online posean el conocimiento básico y de mejores prácticas para desempeñarse en la actividad, como uno de los primeros hitos del trabajo en conjunto con otros IAB de la región. Lanzamos el premio Más Digital, con más de 120 entries. Esta iniciativa, conjunta entre el IAB e Interact, tiene como objetivo premiar los mejores trabajos de la industria. Pero lo que lo diferencia de otros es que son los mismos referentes del ecosistema los que se pronuncian sobre la calidad y el nivel de los trabajos, cuya premiación cerrará nuestro evento el día de hoy. La agenda para adelante es ambiciosa y solo posible con el involucramiento activo de todos los que estamos presentes hoy aquí. Estaremos presentes nuevamente en Brasil en esta edición para compartir con más anunciantes casos de éxito globales y el rescate de los ganadores de nuestro premio Más Digital, para que sirvan como faro que los ilumine y los inspire a tomar riesgo como lo hicieron ellos. Buscaremos encontrar un abordaje que ayude a la industria respecto al adblocking, en un trabajo en conjunto entre la Comisión de Medios y Tecnología. Ya estamos trabajando en una segunda fecha especial vinculada en este caso a generar nuevas ocasiones de consumo. Y en febrero lanzaremos la segunda edición de la Law Week, esperando capitalizar todos los aprendizajes de la primera. Tenemos que federalizar el IAB y nos pusimos como objetivo llevar al menos a 3 plazas del interior eventos inspiradores durante el próximo año. Durante el mes próximo daremos a conocer los resultados de la encuesta de satisfacción regional respecto a mediciones y estaremos lanzando un curso de métricas, brindando el espacio de formación y capacitación para incrementar el nivel de productividad de los empleados y ampliar el conocimiento respecto a los medios, las herramientas y las tendencias digitales. A partir del 2017 se llevará adelante rotativamente entre los países de la región con presencia de IAB una versión regional del Congreso Anual que potenciará o reemplazará al local, dependiendo de cada caso, y propondremos a Argentina como sede para su primera edición. Consolidaremos el premio Más Digital y empezaremos a trabajar con otras iniciativas similares en la región, para tener lo antes posible un premio regional de prestigio, con jurado heterogéneo que entiende de digital y casos reales, no festivaleros, que impactan en el negocio. Queremos entender en profundidad cómo trabaja la Comisión de Recursos Humanos de IAB México, entendiendo que es un tema crítico en nuestra industria, persiguiendo como objetivo generar, compartir y difundir las mejores prácticas para el desarrollo, implementación, gestión y proyección de estrategias en el área de recursos humanos, dentro de la industria de la publicidad digital y el marketing interactivo. Nuestro compromiso es hacer una industria cada día mejor desde todo punto de vista. Intentaremos traer aquí los temas que se debaten en el mundo, analizándolos desde la problemática global y con las posibles soluciones locales. En el evento que vamos a tener hoy, vamos a conversar de research, programmatic, content, tendencias, millennials y mobile, entre otras. También vamos a ver la relación entre todas las plataformas, entendiendo que los medios no se sustituyen entre sí, sino que actúan todos en tándem. Finalmente, y sugiero que no se lo pierdan, haremos entrega de los premios Más Digital, proyectando los casos ganadores. Por último, les pido que pongan en silencio sus celulares y que tengan muchísimo cuidado con sus efectos personales durante toda la jornada. Ojalá disfrutemos todos de este evento. Bienvenidos nuevamente a IAB Now 2016.
Bueno, vamos a comenzar entonces, luego de las palabras de Santiago Perincioli, presidente del IAB, con nuestro orador principal hoy aquí en este escenario, el escenario premium. Vamos a recibir a James Galpin, es Head of Media and Digital LATAM en Millward Brown. Su charla es sobre Building Brands with Digital. Lo recibimos con un aplauso, por favor, nuestro orador, James Galpin. Bienvenido.
Okay. What I'm going to take you through this morning, I'm sorry, I should say before I start, apologies, I'm presenting in English. I do live in the region. I've been here for a couple of years and I'm having Spanish lessons, but as yet, I'm not good enough to present in Spanish. So I will try and speak clearly and slowly so that everybody can follow. But if there's anything that isn't clear, please feel free to come and speak to me afterwards and I'll try and explain again. What I want to take you through today are some of the learnings and evidence we've seen about how digital can be used to build brands across LATAM. I'm looking at data from two different databases that we have. One based on our cross-media solution, which measures multimedia campaigns and understands how they deliver impact against brands, and the other our market norms database from our digital solution, Brand Lift Solutions, which looks specifically at digital performance. So hopefully what I can do is share with you some interesting learnings, but also, more importantly, what that's telling us about how we can use digital more or better. So I'll now carry on into the main presentation, but I just wanted to give you the context before I started. I guess one thing that we have to be really clear about when we're talking about how digital builds brands is we are talking about brand performance. And that's similar, but that is not the same as sales impact in the short to medium term, or clicks, or things like that. We've worked with brands for 30 or more years at Millward Brown, and what we know is that, and we've got lots of data and evidence to support this, is that strong brands with high brand equity, brand strength, or brand power measures, which is our measure of overall brand strength, grow faster, have or maintain a higher price premium, and therefore are more profitable. Brand matters. Brand is what makes sales possible, or certainly what makes profitable sales possible. Anybody can give something away at half price. The idea is you sell it at full price and make a profit, and that's where brand comes. So all that I'm talking about is brand performance. And it's really important to understand that the typical digital measures that we use to assess performance in the short term do not align with brand impact. So yes, clicks is an interesting measure, but clicks do not correlate with brand impact as we measure it in terms of how much shift in what people think and feel and believe about a brand there is as a result of a campaign. So you can't use click rates as a surrogate for this. And in any case, less than 0.2% of all impressions are clicked on. So are we really saying that over 99% of inventory in digital isn't worth anything because it hasn't got a click? We think that stuff matters. And we think that digital inventory delivers benefits and brand impact with or without a click. And that's what we're looking at. So, what I'll take you through now. How well does digital work? What we've observed about digital's performance against other media across the region and globally, just as a reference point. And then I'll come on to, after that, what helps it work, what makes it work a bit harder, and finally, can we get even more out of it? So, how well does it work? Well, firstly, let me just talk about reach. This isn't, as yet, has it delivered a benefit, because obviously reach is only the opportunity to influence people. But it's clear that if you're trying to build a brand, an important component is reaching the people, or as many of the people as possible, as you want to speak to. So, I've never had as big a chart behind me as this, quite impressive. This chart shows the average results, and you can't really see the credits down the bottom, but we've got 48 cross-media studies that we've run in LATAM. So it's based on a database of 48 cross-media studies. Just because it's relevant to some of this data, please bear in mind, this is mostly, not only, but mostly consumer product brands, because we've worked mostly with them. There are one or two financial services and other service brands included. But this reflects the type of campaigns that they have been delivering. So again, it's not, everything out there. But what this shows is the average reach of these different media channels achieved across those different campaigns. And the main point I want to make here is the ability of digital to reach a lot of people. Yes, TV is still a high-reach medium, but increasingly, if you look over there, social media, in combination with online video and online display, can deliver really significantly high reach themselves. So they can get to most of the people we want to on their own. In combination, nearly everybody, many of our brands are targeting are online, especially in places like Argentina, where the online penetration is already very high. Less so in some of the other markets around the region, where are not as developed digitally quite yet. The bars represent the standard deviations. The reason those are there is because 70% of the campaigns we've measured fall within those bars. So the average is great. But what's really interesting is what can be achieved. So there are campaigns out there where we've seen almost 70% reach delivered in some digital activities, which is close to the sort of reach that people are expecting from TV, the classic reach medium. So at least digital has the potential to reach the audiences that we want to. And if it's used in the right way, it can do. And just to give you the data, I can't show you as many media for Argentina. About 10 of the studies in the database are from Argentina, which means we can get sort of directional learning across these media just to give you the picture a little bit more specifically. And you'll see again that in general, online can achieve really strong reach. And in comparison with the levels of reach we're seeing in TV. Yeah? So the argument is even stronger in Argentina than it is across the region as a whole. And the other media that aren't listed here is only because we don't have enough cases with those individual media in. We sort of use a rule that we would only show data when we have 10 cases. I've actually pushed it a little bit here, given a couple with 8 or 9, but the other media, we just don't have enough cases to report. It's not that they don't deliver reach or can't work. They can. They're just not been in the cases that we've looked at. Now, hang on, jump back quickly. Before I get into that chart, just explain, I'm now going to actually show you impact. So what have those same set of campaigns delivered in terms of shifts on brand performance? Now, I'll take you through 3 charts that are very similar in format, but basically they look at saliency or awareness, associations or brand imagery, and motivation as lumps, as groups. And what I'm going to show you is how each of those media perform in terms of their ability to shift or change how people see the brand in terms of saliency, awareness, consideration, preference, which is motivation, and imagery. That's what underpins a strong brand, the chart I showed you earlier. You have to build all of those things to make a brand strong. So now we're on to the bit that matters. Does digital do this? And again, let me just say this will be Argentina plus LATAM, because at this level of analysis, we don't have quite enough studies to break out Argentina separately, but the story's the same everywhere we look. So I don't think there's anything here that you can't use going forward to drive decision making. So here we go. Nice big letters down the bottom, hope you can see them, about the different media. Now, the black, or the darker color, dark gray I think actually, is global. So the average amount of change, shift, whatever you want to use, or uplift is the other phrase that people use, on a brand metric delivered by a campaign, on average, in that media. The green are the Argentina and LATAM figures, yeah, for the same thing. So, just so you can see how much, and this is amongst the people that these media reach. So here we're looking at, within the audience that the media has delivered, how much change has it delivered. Obviously, media with bigger reach influence more people, but what we're interested in here is understanding what can a medium do or a channel do when you reach someone with it. Because we can always look at, could we build reach further in that channel if we want to get more reach? But the question is, does it deliver an impact in the first place? And this is saliency, so awareness building. And of course, TV is famously the awareness building medium. But actually, if you look at online video in LATAM, it has more impact on awareness amongst the people it reaches than TV does, the awareness medium. And indeed, all the other media and other parts of online display and social media can deliver significant impact on awareness as well. The other charts are similar format, so I'll go through them quite quickly, but it's really just to make the point. On this case, we're looking at brand associations and imagery. You know, trying to build the ideas that people have about a brand, which are what drives people's attachment to a brand and belief in a brand. Now, just to check it, name check it, I know I'm at the IAB, but you know, magazines are a standout. We always have seen this since we started doing this work. So it isn't just about other digital media or digital media, but obviously the key benchmark is always TV. That's where the bulk of investment goes. And when you look at online performance, social media, online display, online video against TV, it does a really good job. Magazines are great, but we know that magazines are gradually declining as a medium in terms of readership and the opportunity. They work, so I don't want to do them down. If you have an audience they're relevant to, they can be a powerful part of the mix. But relative to TV, online video display and social media all do a really good job. And of course, I'll come on to some charts in a minute that talk about cost efficiency. This doesn't take account of cost. At the moment, this is just how much work do they do, not work per dollar. I'll come back to work per dollar in a moment, or peso, I should say. Anyway, finally, just on motivation, just to clarify what motivation means, it's consideration, purchase intent, those types of measures. Because we work with different brands that use different metrics in these areas, the collective term we use to describe them are motivation. But it's basically the closest surrogate inside a brand measurement to willingness to buy. So consideration, preference, intention to purchase type measures. And again, straight away you see, good old magazines doing nicely, thank you, but you're seeing a really strong performance from all three digital areas. And we are breaking the digital down into different parts now because digital isn't really one channel. It's important to remember that you shouldn't expect the same performance from all the different content and types of content available through online. And we increasingly need to think of digital itself as a multi-channel medium. It isn't a single channel. And clearly across all three of the environments that we can break out in our studies currently, digital is a very strong performer and especially in comparison to TV. And obviously TV is the medium that all of our clients tend to use because they know it does these things well. It's been their staple brand building tool for however long. So just to show that digital can deliver the same impact if you reach people with it is a hugely powerful thing. It can do at least as good a job as TV. But of course, we haven't looked at the costs. I'll come back to that. Here we go. This is where it gets interesting. The same set of campaigns, some of the results are the same data but presented in a slightly different way. The important new line is share of spend. So across those campaigns, the share of investment delivered through the different media channels, the big pale blue block is our friend TV. Across those three areas I've already talked to you about, saliency, association, and motivation, those three bars are the share of impact delivered across those three. And you can see how the relative position of share of investment versus share of impact sits for the digital channels here and the share of impact up there versus the TV share of impact, the top three, and share of investment. I think that makes the point that if you're going to spend $1 more, you might look somewhere else than TV at this stage. And if you're going to think about moving money, the evidence would support that you would look to move money probably away from TV into the other channel options. And just a name check, we are media impartial. Some of the other traditional media do a decent job as well. But digital is the standout performer once you take account of its share of spend versus its performance. So that was global. Oh, hang on, I skipped. I mislabeled, sorry. I'm just sort of told there. This is the story in LATAM. So there's a compelling story globally, but in LATAM the story is even stronger. So the share of digital media versus their share of performance is a better or a stronger argument in Latin America than it is in the rest of the world. And TV still is over-invested relative to the other channels, more so than anywhere else in the world. So I think that's made the fairly clear point that simply based on performance against other media, digital more than justifies its investment and would justify significantly more investment relative to other channels as well. Now I want to talk a little bit more about how we see performance within digital. So this is no longer referencing other media. This is where I'm drawing on data from our brand list solution, which looks at the performance of digital campaigns in isolation, not across the multiple channel involved in the campaign. And the first thing to say is that this chart contains the data for global, Argentina and LATAM, and Argentina on its own. Overall, we see good uplift. The only thing, and I would also highlight, we have a significant number, but not a huge number of studies in Argentina. What I would say this chart says is that brand lift tells us that digital can perform pretty well. On some key measures, it does everywhere, including in Argentina. But we are struggling on some aspects of performance in Latin America in general and in Argentina specifically. We think that's more of a creative issue. It's not a media issue. Perhaps we're not doing as much as we can within our creative development in the online space to really build brand favorability and purchase intent. And we may need to think a little harder about how we deploy creatively in the digital space. We don't believe this is to do with it not being able to work. We just think we haven't always activated it as well as we could as marketers. And now, beyond that, what have we learned about what can make digital work harder? Now, here I'm looking at the regional results because to get into this granularity, we don't have enough cases in Argentina specifically to break it down. But the patterns are pretty universal, so the story will be the same, whichever we look at. So firstly, just a simple thing, we're talking about creative issues, yeah? Could we make it work a little bit harder? A very simple thing. One of the most important things to make digital work to build brands is it's very clear what brand it's from, so that when people are exposed to the communications, whether or not they click on it, it stimulates what they think and feel about the right brand. And it's very clear that one device, not the only way of doing it, but one of the important devices for that is brand logos. It's a simple hook. It's easy to associate communications with a brand using its logo. So this is the difference in performance on a couple of different measures, online ad awareness and brand favorability, versus ads where there is only partial or no brand logo present, so the darker blocks, or ads where there's 100% logo presence. That means if it's a rich media ad, the logo is present through every screen. It's basically there the whole time the ad is on display. If it's video, it's constantly present in the video. Yeah, it's a simple hook, but it seems to work. We're seeing far better performance on online ad awareness and brand favorability from ads where the logo is a constant presence. Now, I'm not saying the logo is the only way you brand a communication. You don't. There are key iconography that brands use in advertising, color schemes. If you see a cola ad and it's red, you know who it's for. But it's a key part of it, and not that many brands that are in the fortuitous position of Coca-Cola and a color association. So, as much as we like it, that isn't always a viable option. And if you're wondering how we get negative effects from not having a logo present, you have to remember that brand favorability is largely a zero-sum game. You can only have one favorite brand. So, if the ad is being wrongly attributed to the wrong brand, whose favorability does it build? It builds the other brands in the market's favorability. What does that do to the brand who's spending its money's favorability? It goes down. So you don't brand right, you don't just not do anything. On some things like favorability, you're actually losing ground. And these are the sorts of things that we think are part of why we may not be performing at the overall level on some measures in LATAM as well as we would like. This is clearly one thing that, it's not the only thing, but one thing to keep in mind. A similar sort of split, this time looking at targeting. And obviously, you know, in a way, everyone is relevant for a brand, but in general, there's a specific audience that a message or a campaign communication is intended for. And it's very clear that we see bigger impact in target, i.e. from impressions delivered to the defined target audience for the campaign, than impressions delivered out target. So improving targeting will improve performance. So making sure we reach the right people. But I come back to the creative issue. This is a creative issue too. Because when you design a communication, you're designing it to resonate with a particular target audience. So you can do a really funky ad that resonates to 18 to 25-year-olds. It may not with 45-year-olds or 50-pluses like me. You might need to speak in a very different way to me. So part of this is back to creative again. The point of targeting is to deliver the right message to the right people, not the wrong message to the right people. And we have to make sure that we have the right messages developed for the key targets, but then we do need to make sure that we deliver those messages to the right people. And just a little bit about weight. This is based on the fact that in the work we've done in LATAM, generally people aren't using digital at very heavy weights. So what we want to do is look at whether higher weights or higher frequency, and we're back to the good old media world of reach and frequency. In general, more reach is better than more frequency. But there are times when speaking to someone several times delivers more impact than just speaking to them once. And that's what we're looking at here. Yes, we'd like to build more reach too, but can we get a little bit more impact from delivering a little bit more weight to the people we reach? And the answer is yes. You can see in this chart across a range of measures that the uplift on all measures when people see the ad 4 or more times is more than when they see it between 1 and 3 times. Now, please don't misunderstand that. That's not permission to throw 20 impressions at every individual, because you can also hit diminishing returns and, to use an English phrase, piss people off. But you can probably get away with doing 5 or 6 rather than just 1 or 2. Yeah? So maybe a bit more pressure in digital would deliver some further brand benefit. And that's more of a media deployment issue than a creative issue. But then I want to come back to that old creative thing again from here. This is where we split those campaigns based on top quintile, bottom quintile, and average performance. And I've stripped down the number of measures just to make it more easy to see on the screen, but the pattern's true on everything. So the best performing campaigns do a lot. Yeah, that's the green stuff. The average, más o menos. Yeah, that's my Spanish for the afternoon, morning, sorry. And then the blue stuff. And give us all as well. I'm learning slowly. That's nasty. That's big negative hits. And what do we think drives that? Well, there are probably a couple of things, but clearly one thing is likely to be creative. Yeah? So you get the messaging right and you deliver it to the right people, then you can have a massive impact in digital. Unfortunately, if you deliver the wrong message, I'll add to that, in the wrong way, to the right, or either the right or the wrong people, it can actually harm your brand, not just not do much. Not doing much you could live with, but this is negative impact. I do think that one of the themes we've seen coming through over the last 2 or 3 years is a big part of this, and I do think it's about invasive digital advertising formats. So I don't care how great your ad is. If you grab my screen and take it over and get in the way of my content consumption, I hate you. And I think that the digital industry has forgotten a little bit about the consumer interaction with their media. Some publishers are very careful to curate the user's environment and make sure that advertisers don't get to invade their user space. And that's what traditional media owners have always tried to do. Create the content, which is really what users are there for, with the advertising, which is where they have to earn a living to fund the content. Some digital publishers, advertisers, networks have forgotten about that. And I think some of the negativity we see here is the same thing that sits behind the rise in ad blocking and all those other trends that have become a big deal in the industry. If you use invasive, intrusive formats, you'll get higher click rates, but you'll be pissing people off every step of the way. The clicks are only there because they're trying to get off your screen, get the ads off their screens, and they're accidentally clicking, and you're taking them to a microsite they never wanted to go to, and they're now trying to find their way back to the content they were in the middle of consuming when you invaded their space. And if any of you think that's a good idea, it isn't, ever. And the problem for that, for advertisers, is it will get you great click rates, it'll make the media look really efficient in digital terms, but people blame the advertiser that did it. They don't blame the media owner that delivered the inventory. They blame the brand whose ad's in the screen in front of them. And I'm sure that if I asked you could all immediately think of those experiences where you've had one of those invasive digital formats on one of your screens, mobile, tablet, PC, it doesn't matter, and you've gone, that's really pissing me off, and you can remember the brand that did it to you. That gives you negative results. That destroys brands. But it's great click rates. Yeah? So I do think creative is a big part of it. Clearly, how you deliver the creative, you can deliver creative in a good way, and you can deliver the same creative in a bad way. So it's not just about creative, but creative is a really important part of it. So I want to talk a little bit more, just to round up, how can we deliver more? Well, could digital deliver more? Well, one is just a simple, hardcore number, a set of numbers about the potential for digital. This is the share of media time across different media platforms now. The ones above the line are the digital media screens. Yeah, PC, laptop, tablet, and mobile. And the rest are the traditional media. This is numbers from our colleagues at TNS's Connected Life study, just to clarify where the source of this is. It's really important when you're a marketer or as a media owner, that you understand where your users are spending their time. And as a marketer, in general, it's not a one-for-one deal. Clearly, there are different values in different media environments for brands. But nonetheless, I would generally advocate that marketers follow their consumers. They speak to consumers where consumers are spending their time. And it's very clear where consumers are spending their time. Now, this is the share of spent at a global level. And clearly, yes, digital has been growing fast. But still, relative to where people are spending their time, there's a huge gap. Now, this data I could have done for global. I could have done it for total LATAM. This is actual Argentina and different demographics, but the picture's the same everywhere. So, spend is moving there, but it isn't exactly all the way there. And I'm not saying this is a simple one-for-one relationship. Obviously, you have to think beyond just that to decide where you spend the money. The cost of the media is an issue as well. And then this is the picture in Argentina. So, again, a big kick up, particularly since 2012, in the amount of money being invested in digital in Argentina. It's still quite a long way behind the global position. And remember that global, yes, it includes places like the US and Western Europe and some other very developed markets like Japan and so on. But it also includes Africa and the rest of Asia, which aren't anything like as developed. So, that 30% of spend on digital globally, in LATAM, we're now just touching 20%. But again, you go back to that one. thinking about where people are dwelling and spending their time, and therefore where the maximum opportunity to communicate is, still quite a long way away. And finally, just a piece of data on the formats. Now, I didn't manage to get it in time, unfortunately. I wanted to show you this chart that includes some negatives. But these are just data on formats. You know what I was saying about how you can annoy people with the wrong formats? These are the numbers for positive, people not minding these different formats. The ones down the bottom with lowest agreement that people don't mind them, or acceptance, would you characterize your attitudes towards following brand online? This is positive, yeah? Above average. Really low for mobile app pop-up, in-banner autoplay, social autoplay, pre-roll should be, yeah, that's not skippable, pre-roll, yeah? I can also tell you that if I had the negative numbers on the charts here, the negative scores would be down here for those low ones. The ones that people don't mind are the ones where you give them a choice. Skipping, choose to play, those sorts of things, yeah? So the story's very clear, format matters in that data. We have to think, as much as we want to force people to view our communications, unfortunately doing so has a negative impact. We have to be smarter about deployment. And then finally, I wanted just to use, and I'm going to be a little bit over, so I have to have a question. Can I have a couple more minutes to run through a couple of video examples of creative? Because I'm about to hit my time. So I'll probably skip most of these, but just take a couple of highlights. Just wanted to talk a little bit about creative, getting the message right. Last year, as part of the ad reaction study that some of this data came from, we also did a deep dive into understanding video creative performance in different environments. So we wanted to understand, how does a great TV ad perform across non-TV screens and vice versa. And so there's just some interesting learning about getting creative more right here. And I think the first thing to say, and I'll play one of these ads here because it's definitely worth playing. I don't know if any of you have seen this ad. It's from Australia. It's for Honda. Some brilliant pieces of communication communicate across all screens. This ad did.
Brian! Time to wake up now, Brian!
Get up now, Brian!
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 Wake up, Brian!
Brian!
Hey, Brian.
Terry?
Brian?
Brian, wake up!
Whoa.
Wake up!
Wake up!
Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the 7 seas.
Woof, Brian. I said woof.
The all-new Honda HR-V. The 5-door compact SUV for wherever you dream of going.
So, as you know, many of you might know, Millward's very famous for our creative testing, creative development work. We've obviously done an awful lot of work with TV ads over the years. We're obviously increasingly doing more and more with online video and online video environments. But this was one of those pieces of creative where basically you can play that on any screen and it lands. Yeah, it's just a brilliant piece of video advertising. But it will deliver on a mobile, it will deliver on a tablet, it will deliver on TV. But there aren't many of those, and there are plenty of ones which do okay, but better or worse. So there isn't a simple relationship that says if it's great on TV, it will always be great online. I'm going to skip the OLX ad. It's a great ad, but I'm just, in the interest of time, I'm going to have to move on. One of the key challenges we face in online environments is the skippability. I've told you, you have to let people skip and not autoplay, yeah? So I'm sorry, you have to. Then you have this problem. The problem is people jump out as soon as possible. Pretty much, they start playing the ad and you lose most of your audience within the first few seconds. This is the viewers falling off as the duration of the ad extends, yeah? So I track this and obviously time it through online viewing when we're testing creative. And it's a huge issue. There's not a simple answer, but there are a couple of different ways you can try and deal with that. One, just make it short and sweet and basic and clear. Hang on, sorry.
Hey, AGEA now has a price match promise. So if you're going to skip something, skip the big supermarkets. Because with AGEA, you won't pay more on hundreds of everyday products. You get the idea. Or you can just try and hold people in. Now, this will only work on roughly half the audience,
probably.
Oh my, would you look at that? Absolutely delicious. You must think it can't possibly get any yummier than this. But look what happens when we add Nestlé's sweetened condensed milk to the mix. Oh, that's right. The delicious becomes even more delicious. Oh dear. Nestlé's sweetened condensed milk. Made from fresh Australian milk. Check the label for local.
You get the idea. Try and hold them in. You're never going to be able to completely overcome the drop-off, but you can at least try and design your creative hold things in. Of course, that's the thing with TV. I mean, you have people who channel flick, I guess it's in a way the same thing, but nothing quite the same as skip inside video deployment online, which is the right thing to do, but presents a creative challenge. So you've got to try and land the brand idea in a very short space of time, or you've lost 70% of your audience, or you do something brilliant creatively to try and hold your target audience in. But I think it's very hard to do that forever. One of the other things, and I'll skip these videos because I want to go on to the last one. Hang on, go back just to make the point on this chart. I've already showed you data on the importance of logo presence. The really important thing is to get your branding right. If you recognize in online video environments, many of your views will be very short. People might only see the first few seconds. It is essential that you brand strongly so that even if you're only getting part of the ad delivered, it at least is working for your brand and the consumer knows who it is that's speaking to them. And it does mean that you have to think about cutting creative in a slightly different way. You need to design the first 5 seconds to do something. You can't tell the full 30-second TV ad story in 5 seconds. So you're going to have to compromise a little. But you do need to think about landing something in a short window, and you also need to make it very clear who it is that's advertising. These are ads that are great examples of very strong branding, but in the interest of time, I'm going to skip them because I really want to show you the last one. Some of you I know have probably seen some of these before anyway. I'm sure some of you have seen this last one. But in the end, what we found above all else, and so we tested about 20 different pieces of copy, I think, across, 9 different countries in this multi-country study that drives this learning to see how different creatives worked across different screen platforms, TV, mobile, desktop, tablet environments. Yeah? What we really found is that custom content works best in online. If you have a good TV ad, it should generally do an all right job online. So let's pretend that you just re-edit your TV ad, it's a disaster. It won't necessarily be. But it isn't the optimum solution in general for online. In general, you want to be developing messaging that suits the context of online, and I've never seen a better example of that than this ad. So for those of you who haven't seen it before, you're a treat. Anybody who has seen it usually enjoys seeing it again. And then I'm done.
Don't thank me. Thank the savings.
You can't skip this Geico ad because it's already over. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Okay, I've got to skip because I've overrun, I apologize. But just to finish, invest more online, manage deployment carefully, remember how you deliver ad matters, and then deploy great creative. It's worth watching the rest of the Geico ad when you have a moment, when you have a bit more time. It carries on being funny. Thank you very much.
Vamos a invitar al escenario a nuestros panelistas para continuar con esta presentación. Ezequiel Jones, Media Director de Unilever. Tomás Salvagni, Gerente de División Comercial en Grupo Clarín. Martín Caraoghlanian, CEO y cofundador de adCuality.com. Y Mariano Filarent, Director en Havas Digital. Pido un aplauso para ellos.
Hi, James again. Well, you show us a chart where you are showing the exposure of the eyeballs, and then you correlated and you spoke about some kind of correlation with investment. I would like to know at this point, what do you think about media, if it's just a support to get in the most efficient way to the target you defined, or if you think that the product, the brands, independent of the format, we're talking about context and content, can empower that investment, if you see a difference in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very simplistic just to say time spent should equal spend, and I wasn't trying to make it quite that simple. I was trying to highlight the gap, the huge gap between where people are spending time and marketing investment is currently, which is obviously mostly about TV versus digital. But absolutely, I mean, the context of the media environment and the nature of the brand and the audience are really important to effectiveness too. And you know, I think it's, I mean, we were talking earlier, print advertising, you saw on the charts here, can be hugely powerful. And it can deliver things that are very hard to deliver in a video. I mean, I've often felt that people are a little bit too obsessed with video advertising, because if you're trying to convey information, video isn't very good in general. In general, print advertising can be very powerful. So I don't think spend should simply follow minutes of usage. And clearly, I think what's important for brands is that they develop advertising communications that work within the context of consumers' media habits and the environments which consumers are taking on board their media content, be it print, online, TV, radio, whatever. Is that?
Excellent. Thank you, James. Kelu?
Hello, James. So my question would be related to methodologies of the research that you are doing and how that methodologies are evolving, if they are evolving, with the introduction or the big penetration of, for example, mobile, and how you are tracking that. For example, in one of your slides, for example, the purchase intent was apparently was not didn't have an impact. And if you see that the methodologies should be evolved to try to track the correct impact of certain ads on the consumers.
Okay, no, it's a fair question. I'll be quite transparent. There are some challenges in measuring mobile inventory because all of the mechanics that we've used for, the whole industry's used for years for measuring online desktop don't work within the mobile app environment specifically. It doesn't mean we can't measure it, and we're obviously solving for that. I mean, this data is from multi-years of studies, so it's not just about the more recent period where mobile's already taken off. So I don't think that performance is particularly to do with mobile. Clearly, yes. I mean, any media we're measuring, we need to have or at least any campaign we're measuring, we need to be able to estimate or capture people's exposure to all the activities in the campaign correctly. And I won't pretend mobile hasn't presented us with challenges. It has, which we're beginning to solve from a technological perspective. But actually, inside those cross-media studies and some of the brand lists, there is mobile inventory tested. There are challenges, particularly within app inventory still, but we have workarounds for much of that. So I don't think that's why we see that performance. I think that's a different issue. The other thing I would say just about mobile, which wasn't in any of this data, is of course when you look at any source on where people spend their time on mobile, they actually consume most of the time at a fixed place at their desk at work or at home. I mean, mobile video is an at-home consumption. So as much as people talk about online being something you're out and about and it's all about shopping, that's not where the minutes on mobile are spent. The minutes on mobile are spent at home on your sofa, either watching content on your mobile instead of using TV or engaging and using content while watching TV. It isn't in the shop checking prices. So yes, mobile has a role in that space in a way no other channel does. But mobile inventory for brand advertisers, it's a brand advertising medium 90% of its time away from store. So I don't think that's all that it's about. but you might expect that mobile has some unique attributes in terms of price checking and things like that that facilitate in-store use. Is that?
James, very interesting your presentation. And my question is about, according with adCuality, the share of ad video advertising is growing every day. So with the benefits of the video advertising in brand, do you think that the online video advertising will be the standard as a format for our industry in the near future?
Well, possibly yes, but in the end, what I'd say on that is it's where the video content is being consumed. So when you come to, so I have a point of view that online video ads are not the right thing to deliver in all online environments. Because if someone's reading a text-based content online, I'm not convinced online video is the right format. So there's a huge growth in online video, deploying video everywhere, even when people are not in video, not in video consumption mood. And I'm not sure that that's the right thing to do. I think a well-designed rich media ad or even static placements might be more effective in many environments where people are pushing online in video. However, what is also true is more and more video consumption, as in content, forgetting advertising, content consumption is moving online. People are using online services to access long-form video content now in a way they didn't used to. And what will really move the shift, mark the shift of online video being the premier medium, say, versus TV, will be when the majority of video consumption, as in content consumption, is online. Now, at the moment, yes, obviously there are services and YouTube and so on, which have grown enormously, but still the majority of that is on TV platforms. But through over-the-top services and things like Netflix and everything else, gradually, long-form video consumption is moving into an online environment. And I would expect that, you know, maybe 10 years from now, most TV content will be consumed online. And at that point, clearly, online video is going to be the dominant form. But for me, it's driven by where the content consumption is. I think there's a different challenge about picking the right communications form for the content. And I'm not sure that online video is what we should do everywhere, because we've all had the experience of reading a news site and a video unit starts playing and you're going, where's that coming from? What's that sound? Switch the sound off, and you never even look at the placement. I'm not sure that's a productive video impression, yeah? So there's two different parts of that, yeah?
Hi, James. Pleasure to having you here. My question is related to the power of the synergies in media. You know, that's, we know that there's a lot of synergy effect between media. And the question is, if you know there is a correlation between the quantity of platforms and the return of investment.
I don't think there's a magic number, but what I can generally say is more is better than less, generally. So what I would say we absolutely are certain of is multimedia campaigns are always better than single media campaigns. It doesn't matter what the single media is. So TV only is not the best way of doing any campaign, ever. TV plus, or, you know, is a lot better. And it is because of the synergies. It's largely because of the synergies. I would say that it would also quite possibly be a situation now where you would look at online video plus online display plus social media plus other media, and that's the way you do multimedia. It may not be essential that you have TV there. So I don't want to say that synergy only happens with TV. But generally, multimedia is better. The only thing you have to manage, I guess, is, you know, and you'll understand this from your perspective, you have to be buying enough inventory in the medium, each media, to be able to secure a good delivery. So probably fragmenting too much isn't necessarily the best. But we look at campaigns that have 4 or 5 media active. Every media contributes. And on average, I didn't show it in these charts, we find about 30% of campaign impact comes from multimedia synergies, which is where people see at least 2 of the media involved in the campaign. and we get a 1 + 1 = 3 effect. So if TV does +1, online does +1. If you see both, you get +3, not just +2. And that synergy effect is one of the biggest drivers, not, to be fair, just for digital multimedia, but clearly one of the big reasons why adding digital makes perfect sense. And it doesn't matter if it's not delivering unique reach, because the synergy comes from the overlap. So the most powerful thing is that you speak to consumers in more than one context to get across your brand message. So multimedia is always better. I don't know what the magic number is, but I would say at least 3. Probably once you get to 10, it's too many. Somewhere in between. Yeah.
Thank you. I have another one, guys. Okay. My second question is related to how to build reach nowadays.
Okay.
You know that in CPG companies, for example, we used to plan TV first, you know, and then aggregate and increment the rest of the media, and then build the curve of reach. Do you think that nowadays we can start planning digital as the main media and then add another like TV as a second stage?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously you have to take account of the online penetration of your target audience. But as long as you're getting to the stage where for your particular target audience online is at 80% plus penetration, and I should think for some of your key audiences it would be a lot higher than that, then definitely. I mean, if you look at some of the reach charts here, we were looking at up to 70% delivery in social media alone. If you add together with that with online video and online display, it's very achievable to achieve 80 or 90% reach of the online population. So if you can do that, then you can start with that as the main plank of a campaign, and then add other things to that. I mean, TV still has unique ability to scale reach very quickly, and let's not pretend that that's all over yet. I'm not here to destroy TV. It's probably the easiest place to scale reach quickly, and that hasn't quite changed yet. But could you scale reach without TV? Absolutely, no problem. Especially with a core of digital, and then potentially other traditional media added on top, print, out of home, things like that. Scaling reach is not difficult in digital these days. Yeah.
That will be all, James. Thank you very much.
Thank
you. It was a great presentation. Hope to see you back soon.
Yes, I'd love to.
Take
Thank
care.
you very much.